All right, let's talk about this Scorpio lunar eclipse. So, here are my words. If you've been watching for a while, if you've been joining me for a while, all of the moons and sometimes some ingresses, I get very key distinction either in words or in a phrase format. Happens all the time. I bring it to you live here, channeled messages. And this Scorpio lunar eclipse, my three words, and they came as a combined phrasing. This lunar eclipse is deceptive, deceiving, and distorted. And we're going to go through each one of those keywords and break down what this lunar eclipse really means by that. Because if you just took it at face value, look, me, myself, I'd want to go run and hide. Definitely do not want to do that during this Scorpio lunar eclipse. There is some wonderful, really amazing potential, pure potential energy that is available to us to be able to move through, timeline jump in. There's just so much opening up with this. So let's pull up the chart and we'll talk about it. This is a prenumbrial lunar eclipse, by the way, first off, and that means it is a full moon. So lunar eclipses are full moons. It is prenumbrial because it is not exact. It's not on the nodes. It's not conjunct the nodes. So that's a little bit of where the deceptiveness comes in. So let's take a look at this chart. Talk about it, y'all. Drop it in the chat. I mean, way happier than the other one. If you watched the last one where I pulled a chart, way happier with this one. All right, let me go ahead and pull it up so that way I can draw on it for everyone. So this is being pulled for Central Time Zone. I am in Texas, so this is Central Time 5/5 at 12:34 p.m. Central. So make sure you adjust for where you are located in the world. And this is the beautiful chart. So we are going to start right away with the moon, the star of this show. This is the moon found right here at 14 degrees, 58 minutes of Scorpio. That is the glyph for Scorpio. The sun is directly opposing, this is what makes full moons, over here in the amazing sign of Taurus, 14 degrees, 58 minutes. So as you can already see, and I'm going to change color here to green because we are in Taurus, there is a lot of energy already in Taurus, right? We've got this node, Mercury right here, and we have Uranus still hanging out. So yes, this is the crazy thing about this moon, is there is no direct aspects within 3 degrees of any. It's pretty fucking mind-blowing. Now, there are obviously instances, there are obviously like these energies in Taurus still have an effect on the sun. The full moon is here. The north node is still, south node is still in Scorpio. It still has an effect on this moon. It's just not like in that 3 degree warp zone where everything really gets amplified. So this is one of everything about this moon. Things about this moon really nothing to do with the moon itself. And that's where we get into conversation. So just let's talk about words. This applies to this moon if you hear everything's next. These clips be available to be viewed in Australia. You in Australia, choose teammate, you get to see a little bit of action. Got a nice solar eclipse earlier 2 weeks ago. It's time for this here. So this eclipse, even if you could see it as it is a prenumbrial, you're seeing it very, very light. There's very light that is going to be seen over this moon. So it doesn't like you think of what an eclipse looks like, a lunar eclipse, like that contour in your mind is like, okay, got this full shadow. in shadow where we can't see, etc. That's where this deceptive nature of this moon comes in, because it has to be a very light shadow. Doesn't really look like an eclipse, but with it being in Scorpio, it packs a fucking punch. This moon, regardless if there is no specs within the brain board, regardless if it is eclipse or not, doesn't fucking matter. It is, that's where that deceptiveness can come in. Be fooled, because like what it looks like. That is a pretty amazing sin, because we go through the rest of this year, like, or we taking in the information that we see, words that we hear, all of these pieces. How are we interpreting all of this, and how is that affecting our choices and what we do? So, one other piece that I want to show before we head on to the next part is going to be this lovely guy right here. So this is our friend Mars. He is sitting at 21 degrees, 37 minutes of Cancer. This is the code for Cancer right here. And he's the ruler of this movie. He's the ruler of these eclipses. Very in this system for 2023. So he's been Cancer. He and his badass warrior self. We've done a lot of talk about Mars in Cancer, getting ready to ingress into Leo later on this month. And the other ruler is pretty much almost opposite, right? Heading that way is this now retrograde Pluto in Aquarius at 0 degrees, 22 minutes. We'll see for Aquarius. So just retrograde. He retrograde yesterday. Video that you can watch. It's TwitchyTuesdays covered that. Make sure if you are on YouTube, it'll be right here. I'll replay again, where you can go back and just read. We've got highlights on Twitch. So we've got Mars over here. He's the traditional ruler of Scorpio. We have Pluto now the Scorpio, and these two and there's more happening with Pluto and Mars than there is with this moon. So this is where the deceiving part comes in. And no what's going on with this moon. It's like, yeah, you want to be drawn square. Like, you want to look at everything else versus what the moon is actually trying to show you. So, yeah, we need to, okay, we have to acknowledge Mars and Pluto before our rulers. Like, this is why I'm like crazy marking up this chart, because this really should be on. Don't be deceived. Don't be deceived. There are a lot of conversations happening. We're going to talk about some of those here in a second. However, the moon has a message for you. And if you're not willing to sit down and listen, the message could get lost. We don't want that message to get lost. The moon is showing you something that you need to look at. Whatever anybody else is doing, whatever the collective is doing, don't worry about it. Focus on the moon. Focus on what's internal inside of you. And that is going to be the moneymaker of this moon. Now let's look into the distorted. So, let's talk about this a couple of different times in some other videos. Definitely on Red Pill Astrology, we talk about it. The moons have switched. Moons have now switched, and this is the first cycle change. This is the first moon of that switch. So this occurred last month when the Aries solar eclipse happened, which was the second new moon in Aries. So now we have new moons happening at the ends of the zodiacs, and now our cycles have flip-flopped. So this happens and occurs every couple of years. The last time that this flipped was in 2020, and how much have we done and gone through since 2020? Here we are again, right? So this really looks like is showing something, being shown something, and now you have to do the work. Versus over the last couple of years, we've been able to do work and see what comes out of it. So this is that a little bit of a shift. We got a little bit of a shift going on. Moon and Mars, here's another thing that is really interesting about it being distorted. So first of all, this switch is a little bit of a distortion. This is the first time we got to get used to this energy. Okay, distorted. The Moon and Mars also very distorted during this time, during this eclipse. They are in their fall. So Mars ain't comfortable. Cancer. Now he's done a lot of growing, he's done a lot of maturing, he's getting a lot better. But this is the sign of his fall. In Scorpio, that's the sign of the fall. So this is another area that is getting distorted where we're not in full strength here. So you really do, just like the Scorpio, you really do gotta dig to get this information to get what this movie is really getting at for you. And Scorpio is very resourceful in doing that. So again, don't discount it. Go and utilize the Scorpionic energy. Be really resourceful to find out what this movie has to say. Don't lean on that insecurity. Like that's one of the big things. Don't lean on the insecurity. Don't be insecure about what shows up. Know you have power. Know that you're in your. Know that you know what you're doing. Know you know where to come. Even if you can change it. This eclipse, I have seen more people. I've seen more people this eclipse than in any eclipse I can remember since I started studying astrology, choosing to leave. Choosing to. Now, there has been some others, right? We have had areas where it wasn't a choice to leave a job, but we have seen more people choose to leave jobs. So things are changing. This is a big time right now. And that's not to be discounted. Other thing that I want to point out before we get to cards is this Mars. Hold on, let me actually use it. This Mars and this Jupiter, which Jupiter is right here finishing out Aries, right? He just had that conversation with Venus. This is Glyph Aries. They're actually in a square. So there is, here is Mars in the sign of his fall, yet he is in the sign of Jupiter, like Jupiter's exaltation. Loving it, right? So now you have Jupiter, like he's strong in Aries, he's okay in Aries, but this is Mars's home sign. And now they're in this square conversation with each other. And that could be what gets pretty loud. That could be what gets pretty loud where, Mars is like, I still have 9 fucking degrees left to go before I can get into the fire again. And here's Jupiter, like just having a grand old fucking time over here. And, hopefully that Mars has matured. I know this is actually a Mars return for me. My Mars is in Cancer. It's the only like water in my chart. So this is like building for me. And yeah, things have been showing up for me, like frustration, getting frustrated on things, wanting to take more action than I'm able to right now. So that can be some of those play on these conversations as this moon is occurring and this square is coming in.